the recent time, man's activity to a large extent has caused a lot of damage to the earth. So what do we need to do collectively and individually to be more environmentally friendly?
The first thing we have to do, like anything else, has to start with our minds. And we have to inculcate into our consciousness the reality of the situation we're facing. The environment is being blasted. It's been so badly damaged, left, right, and center. You've got the climate change, which is the biggest one of all, that is just looming as a huge monster. And we're seeing some of the results of the climate change with the massive floods, the huge hurricane-like storms we're having, the desertification, the sea rise. We're seeing that one is coming, and it's coming very, very, very fast. And at the same time, we're having this massive species extinction. Massive extinction. It's totally unprecedented that so many species of animal life have been pushed into extinction so quickly, short time span. And as if that wasn't bad enough, we got the massive pollution of the waterways, which is now coming to the public consciousness, particularly of plastic. So we have to appreciate the urgency of the situation, because the scientists have told us that if we allow it to continue much longer, particularly the climate change, it'll get to a stage where it becomes unstoppable and catastrophic. We're almost reaching that point of no return. If we push the temperature of this earth above 2 degrees, that's when we reach unstoppability. And that unstoppability will lead to catastrophic consequences, unrepairable, catastrophic. So we need to get that into our consciousness. It's like being in a house and not realizing the house is on fire, and then when some people are telling you, hey, your house is on fire, not really wanting to appreciate it because you're just enjoying that wonderful house of yours so much that, I don't want to appreciate it. But hey, at some stage, you have to come to the realization that the house is on fire. And what are we talking about? We're talking about the environment. Another description for environment is our life support system. But it's not only our life support system, but our children's life support system. So our activities are now having consequences that could lead to the actual breakdown of our very own children's life support system. So that's the first thing. We have to get this paradigm shift into our consciousness, into our minds. And then once we can do that, we now look at, okay, what are the really bad ones that's happening? What is causing this? Oh, the climate change is being caused by putting too much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So, hey, we better stop putting so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Decarbonize. There are alternative energy sources. They've been there for the last 100 years. It just hasn't been as profitable to utilize those alternative energy systems. It's been far, far, far more profitable to use carbon fuels, to use these toxic systems that we're using. So we have to get that around our heads. Okay, we've got to stop carbonizing the atmosphere. Otherwise, we're going to destroy our children's life support system. And then what else? Oh, God in His infinite wisdom and mercy has created a perfect system for bringing out the carbon that comes out, because human beings and all the other mammals, they give out carbon dioxide. So God in His infinite wisdom has created a system for absorbing the carbon dioxide and giving us oxygen in return. And that system is the greenery, the trees and the leaves of the earth and the plant life in the sea. And what are we doing? We're massively inundating and destroying the forests of this world. Nigeria has lost almost 95% of our forest, yeah. So we got to get that, okay, stop decarbonizing, start regrowing and protecting, seriously protecting our forests. And it's not impossible. If the Kenyans can do it, if the Rwandans can do it, if the South Africans can do it to a degree, then the Nigerians, as the giant of Africa, not only can do it, but must do it. Otherwise, we have no right to claim that title.
Lagos is among other coastal regions that are less than 1 meter above the sea level. And according to Director General Dr. Mukhtar Aminu Kano of Nigerian Conservation Foundation, it says it could be submerged in 2015. What's your take on that?
Well, anything that comes out of the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, I have learned to take it very, very seriously indeed, because they are deeply embedded in a source that brings knowledge. They have some of the highest intellectual people that you can imagine, including Dr. Aminu Kano. And he is probably basing this recent statement on some recent information that has come out, particularly from the World Meteorological Organization and the International Panel for Climate Change, which is telling us that just the little warming that's happening in the Antarctic particularly is beginning to cause a massive meltdown of ice in that location, far faster than had first been anticipated. And if this warming continues much longer, it now starts to release other greenhouse gases like methane from the permafrost. And it starts a cycle which could end up melting billions and billions of tons of this ice. And if we allow those billions of tons to melt, we're talking of not just 5 feet sea rise. We're not talking of even 20 feet sea rise. We're talking of a possibility of 50 to even 100 feet sea rise if we allow this to continue. Lagos, at best, is only 3 feet above sea level. So all the cities like Lagos, they go totally underwater if we don't get it right. Exactly. We've got to get it right. Right now. There's no more time to waste. We have to do the right thing. Otherwise, our children will wonder, what manner of love was this that our parents claimed to love us, put us in a house, and then set fire to the house. See, Mama Earth is in a crazy mess. It's time for us to do our best. From deep sea straight up to Everest, she's under terrible stress unless you want to be more or less. Clean heart, green heart is the way I stress. Speediness and too much greediness. 6 billion people all want plentiness. If we continue, there'll only be emptiness.
Nigeria, statistics show, has lost 96% of its forest. In your opinion, shouldn't we be worried of the impending danger that this can cause?
We should be extremely worried about the amount of forest we have lost in this country, because the forests are not just there as carbon sinks, which is a wonderful gift from God. They're not just there as our oxygen supplies. The forests are also there to attract moisture, and they sequester the moisture and put it back up, so they're like relay runners for rain. If you don't have forests, you don't have rain going inland. And hey, guess what? They also prevent against soil erosion. And they also give us all types of food and medicines and herbs. And they're also a home for all sorts of life as well. Hey, and all we can do because of the money, but those tearing down the forest, tearing down the forest, tearing down the forest. We should be very, very careful. Because one thing I've discovered right here in this Lufasi Park is that when you sow a seed, whatsoever thou sowest, so surely thou shalt reap. And if we're sowing destruction into the lives of our very children, directly against the mandate of God Almighty, because all the scriptures, from the Quran to the Bible to the Buddhist Sutra, tell us very clearly that our mandate as human beings, made in the image and likeness of the Almighty God, is to care for His creation. I believe we shall be held responsible if we don't do such.
We used to talk about the 3 R's, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle. In our situation, we don't see so much of that. What could be the cause, and what are we not doing rightly?
Well, the way forward is to try to overcome the moi moi leaf mentality. Because in days gone by, we cook our food inside the moi moi leaf, our moi moi. And if you throw away the leaf, well, it goes back to nature. We drink from calabashes and gourds, all part of nature. And probably that's still in our genealogy a little bit. So we have to get away from that and realize we're using modern technology now. And you can't just throw away the plastic the way you used to throw away the moi moi leaf and the calabash. We have to come to terms with that. And again, it's all this mindset thing. You know, we have to have our minds renewed, and we should not be conformed to this very, very negative way of reacting and using nature. We have to get it right. We have to do the right thing. Of course, we have to recycle. Of course, we have to reuse. And if you can't reuse it, then don't use it. We have to stop this. We have to stop this. Otherwise, we are poisoning our children's future.
Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda very recently placed a ban on the use of polythene and paper bags. What's stopping us from adopting the same policy?
When some of the East African countries like Kenya and Rwanda, Uganda started trying to ban the plastic, it wasn't easy because there were business interests, strong business interests. You know, and this is where the challenge is, not just with us, but globally there's a challenge with humanity because our socio-economic system is based on profit, on rising profit. But what is happening now, this rising profit is driven by consumerism. And in some ways, it's very positive because the profit breeds competition amongst those who want to make the profit. Competition gives you excellence. However, if your system is based on consumerism, unlimited consumerism, and you have a limited consumption resource, which is the earth, little diamond in the sky, that's all it is, then you have a problem because the earth can't supply enough. However, if your system is also based on pure profit and you're putting profit ahead of the common good, and you're putting greed ahead of love, then you're just heading for destruction. So we got to get our heads around fundamental realities that human life and human beings are the most important thing of all. Yes, we can make money, but guess what? The love of money is the root of all evil. And luckily, those East African countries were able to overcome their love of money enough to ban those particular products, and we in Nigeria have to follow suit.
Everywhere we go, we see plastics. And worrying is the fact that, again, reports says that we will have more plastics than fish. And I could see that here you have your own pond and you're having fresh fish, but this might not be the case in the next 10 to 12 years. Are you not worried about that? Isn't that scary?
The answer to that question of how do we handle this alarm bell that is blowing so loud that we could have very soon more plastic in the oceans than fish, is to refer myself back to what the current Secretary General of the United Nations said when he was referring to the damage we're causing to the environment, is how many alarm bells will need to blow for us to start making the right decisions. Just that alone is a loud enough alarm bell for the most deaf person to hear that we must stop this attitude. We are committing acts of terrorism against nature. And the difference between nature and God, God will forgive you all the time practically. Man will forgive you much of the time. Mother Nature, she doesn't forgive. You slap your mama, she gonna slap you right back. Because the damage that you're causing to her is not just affecting you and your species, but all the other species that she is responsible for. So we better wake up to this alarm call and do the right thing.
Thank you so very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.